Remember that in the previous chapters, we set up a file called talks.int. You may be wondering, what is talks? Talks is a Python tool used for virtual environment management. It creates and manages multiple separate Python environments like Poetry. However, Talks is specifically designed for testing purposes, whereas Poetry is used for development environments. We do not enter the environments created by Talks to write code like we did with the environment created by Poetry. Instead, Talks automates the creation of separate testing environments and runs standardized tests. The procedures are standardized, and they will be the same in various Python environments created by Talks. You may now wonder why we need Talks. There are a lot of reasons why. First, it allows users to run our test suite in different versions of Python. For some projects, it supports multiple versions of Python, and we would like to make sure it runs not just on my Python version, but all the versions that are supported. With Talks, the tests are run in isolated environments, allowing us to test in multiple Python versions. And if an issue arises in a specific version, the test will fail, and we can quickly identify the problem. Talks simplifies the CI workflow on GitHub Action by automating the process of creating environments and running tests. In the next video, we'll start using Talks to run tests across different Python versions. Now that we understand Talks and its purpose in our project, let's use it. We will use talks.int created in the last chapter as the home to our Talks setup. So let's start there. So far, we only have the flaky settings, and we need to add the Talks settings. Okay, let's stop for a second and let me explain. We set isolated builds to true because we are using Poetry for the build, and we don't want Talks to use setup.py and setup.config, which is the older way of storing Python project settings. We use pyproject.toml instead. Next, the env list settings allow us to set up multiple environments for testing, such as testing for different Python versions. Here, as a start, we're only using Python 3.10. Remember that our project supports any versions of Python above 3.8. We may want to test all of those as well. We will see how to do it later in this chapter. Next, let's add the settings for the testing environment. So, we set pytests as the test dependency, and pytest tests.py as the command to run the test. Now, save and quit and run the test using the command talks. Oh no, what's going on? We see some error messages. What does that mean? Let me decipher it for you. Poetry is saying that it cannot find the project OS in Python. That sounds familiar. So let's check the pyproject.toml file. Remember we set our project name through OS in Python? Hence that Poetry will automatically assume that is the name of the app. I'll add this called reminder.py. So that's why Poetry is confused. To fix it, let's change the name of our project to Reminder. Save and quit, and let's run Talks again. Now, when we run Talks, we will see py310 installed in the prompt. The output is the same as when we run pytests, but we haven't run the linters nor multiple environments yet. We will learn how to do that in the next video. It's time to improve our Talks settings for running tests on multiple Python versions. First, let's open the talks.int file. To make our test run on multiple versions of Python, instead of py310 in the env list, we will add the other versions as well. Here, we will run the test on Python 3.8, 3.9, and 3.10. In the env list sessions, replace py310 with py38, 3.9, 3.10 to run the test on Python 3.8, 3.9, and 3.10. Save and quit the file, then run Talks again. The first thing we see is now running py38 instead of py310, like in the last video. Next, we see it runs on py39, then finally on py310. Now, the test suite takes longer to complete as it runs on each of the Python versions. Next, let's set up linting to ensure code cleanliness and that is compliant with pep8. Open the talks.int file again add a new test environment called a link to the env list. Then add the environment settings like descriptions and the dependency like and fragate. We skip the installation of our app since we are not running the code. We are only checking if the formatting is correct. Finally, add the commands for formatting and minting. Save and quit, and let's test the process again. After running the tests on different Python versions as before, you should see that the black and flathead linting process have been run within their lint environment. In the next chapter, we will set up this process in our GitHub Action workflow. GitHub Actions is a CI/CD platform. Let's first understand what CI/CD means and why this is important. CI/CD stands for Continuous Integration and Continuous Delivery, which is a widely adopted standard for software development. Most companies use the CI/CD pipeline to automate their deployment process, from running tests to building applications from source code to making releases. A continuous integration and continuous delivery platform provide automated pipelines for not just the deployment, but also running the tests, building the application from source, and making a release. This enables developers to shift software quickly and efficiently, as the majority of the release process is automated and standardized, leaving them more time to focus on fixing bugs and developing new features. So, let's finally talk about the style of this video, GitHub Action. The beta version was released in late 2019 and was quickly become preferred CI/CD tool for many open source projects hosted on GitHub. There are also many online resources available to help you learn and use it. One reason for its popularity is that it's free. As many open source projects are already hosted on GitHub, there's no need for extra signups or hooks. Another advantage is that there are many open source tools that can be easily integrated into your GitHub Actions pipeline. We will, for example, pull the code coverage into our pipeline and use it. It's straightforward and simple. I know now you can't wait to try out GitHub Action. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and sign up for a GitHub account and host your code from this course. See you in the next video.